everyone has talent. And so at some level it becomes, what do you do with the margins, right? And so much of that is mental. I'm curious, at what point did you start focusing your work in that space, the mental space in particular, as it relates to high pressure environments, which I know you work with people in those circumstances deeply. So I'd love to know.
Well, the origin story is it started when I was younger, and I think you'll get a chuckle out of this, is because I was a good little athlete. It was surfing was my sport of choice, and I could do it in free surfing when there was quote unquote no pressure from the beach. It was only the connection with the wave that was required. But as soon as people showed up on the beach on competition day for judges and those friends and family, I was a disaster, Molly. Like, I was this 15-year-old kid that I could do the thing, but not on the day I needed to do it to get a score. And it was up in my head, and I'll never forget it. It was perfect conditions. It was about a foot overhead, local break. I was a 15-year-old kid surfing against a 26-year-old, let's say. In my mind, that's how old he was. And he paddles by me, and he says, Gervais, I surf with you all the time. I know what you can do. You got to just stop worrying about all the things that could go wrong. I sat there for a moment, and I thought, my God, how does he know what's in my head? Because that's all I wasn't thinking about the next wave and how I was going to drop in and turn and da. None of the productive type of thoughts. It was all fear-based, and it was like a worry, and it was very unproductive. It was a very cloudy feeling. And I think you and probably your whole community would recognize that anxiousness that can come. And so that I didn't know at the time that was a lightning bolt moment for me, but it was. And it set me down this path because it was at that time I said, wait, hold on. It's not my body. It's not my technical skills. Like, it is my mind. What is this thing? And how do I let that happen? So I just started reading and having conversations with people that were able to compete really well. And they too, this is now a 15-year-old kid asking.
Yeah, that's what I was about ready to go. Wait, you're 15, man.
Yeah, but it was so bad. Like,
yeah. Okay.
I don't think age matters when it's bad. And okay, so this leads to another point, but it was so bad for me that I had to sort it out, or I had to leave. I had to not do that sport because it sucked. Thinking that, like, knowing that you can do it, but not when people are watching, not when there is a score or some sort of artificial consequence.
Well, you've helped so many. You've helped corporations, elite athletes. It's got to be rewarding and such meaningful work. What is it about it that makes it so meaningful, makes it so rewarding at some level?
Well, I think I'm a bit of a junkie so I never wanted to work with professional athletes. That was never a goal of mine. But when I started to get in a position to apply the science that I was learning, again, master's degree in sports science and then a PhD in psychology with a specialization in sport, when I started getting the position to be able to actually help people, I just wanted to work with people that were, I don't know, I wasn't very healthy as a 20, 30-year-old, like as obsessed as I was about unlocking. And I didn't care what they did, but come to find out, the kind of radically obsessed to get better are those that have fundamentally committed their life efforts to getting better. And those are athletes and artists, entrepreneurs sometimes, but not so much. And so I just found myself like those were the people that I resonated with. And and then I'm a bit of a junkie for, like, when the unlock happens, I feel like I get a moment like, oh my, I can't wait to see what you do with this. And so that was the origins.
Well, I'm hearing you say that at some level, when we get to the messy edge, we're invariably going to make mistakes because we're in this sort of place that's new, that's different, that's challenging, where we're being curious, where we're trying to get better. But yet we live in the world where, oh gosh, man, you messed up again, right? Like, you're not supposed to do that because we live in this world. But at some level, it's about not worrying about the messy outside world because it inhibits our ability to get to the messy edge. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah. So Okay. Let me run a little experiment or share an experiment I do, is that I'll ask folks like a team. So I'll go in front of a team. Let's just use the NFL because we're talking about it. And there's 63 athletes, 25 coaches. I mean, in any normal environment, they are alpha. Like they carry themselves, and it's not because of their size, it's because of their mindset. And they are large humans, but it's their mindset. A true alpha is not the physically imposing one. It's the one that demands attention and command because they believe in something that's so important to them. There's a conviction for the alphas. And they collaborate. The true alpha collaborates properly. They're not the ones that kind of bang their chest on, or bangs their fist on their chest and say, follow me. Like those people scare us. We don't really want to follow them. Okay. Anyways, I'm getting distracted. So I'm in front of a room, and if this is a switched on room of high performing athletes that really want to do something special, when I ask the question, I say, who here wants to be their best? Everyone raises their hand. Who wants to have a good life, like where it's amazing, you've got flourishing and fulfillment, and you're performing at your upper level, and you're really going for it, which means you're going to have some scar tissues. You're going to be in that vulnerable space, but that's required. They all raise their hand. And I ask those same questions into, let's say, an audience of 500, 1,000 people in more of a corporate setting. They all raise their hand too. Okay, and it would be weird if some person in your community didn't wait. Okay, now let's go back to the locker room for a minute.
Okay.
And then I say, right, okay, cool. Who wants to come up? And no, I'm sorry. And they'll double click and I'll say, right, that means you got to take risks, right? And they're all nodding their head. And I pause and I say, who wants to come up and see how their mind works under pressure in front of all of your peers? So what do you think the difference between the locker room and the corporate setting, of 500 to 1,000, top performers in business are? What do you think the difference is?
The athletes probably, I would bet 80, 90, 100% of the room raises their hand, and you've got 10% of the room in a corporate environment that raises their hand.
10% was nice.
Yeah,
right.
Okay, exactly.
That's nice.
It's 3 people in 1,000, yeah.
So when you ask the question, like, what's different about them, this is when I say fundamental. Like, I'm not mincing my words there. They fundamentally committed. So when the opportunity presents to be uncomfortable, to be vulnerable in something they care about, okay, they step into that high heat moment. Most of us haven't done the deep work to know what the fundamental commitment is. So we play like we are, but then given the moment, we reveal our real philosophy. We reveal our true first principle in life, which is to be accepted. And if I go up there and I lay a big egg and I start sweating and I can't use my mind under pressure, what are they going to think of me? Are they going to reject me? Am I going to be kicked out? Am I going to be thought less of? Oh God, don't do that. Don't take the opportunity to test myself, because that could be disastrous. So most people's first principle is play it safe, play it small, be in the middle, be accepted, do not risk being kicked out of the tribe.
What does identity, what does it have to do with all of this?
Okay. We're obsessed with performance in our culture, certainly in the West. And when you're good at something, you get attention for it, and it feels good. It feels good. When you're good at something at a young age, it's even more complicated, because what we're supposed to do at ages 12 to, let's call it 22, 21 years old, is it's marked by according to developmental psychologists, it's marked by this phase of identity. Why am I forgetting the word? Hold on. Building your identity, okay, between the ages of 14 to 22, somewhere in that range. And if you get a lot of attention for how well you perform something, like an athletic thing or artistry or being charismatic, whatever, that what ends up happening is, because it feels good to get the external attention, because it feels good to do that thing, we start to foreclose all of our other potential identities. And we collapse it on the way that we perform. and then we sub-collapse it on I am an athlete. And then we collapse it one more time, even narrower, to I am a surfer or I am a baseball player, okay? Mm-hmm. And when you start to niche down and narrow down your identity, what ends up happening is when you go on the mound or you go to paint a canvas or whatever it might be, and your entire identity is fused with the thing that you do, mm-hmm. it becomes really hard to get free.
Yeah.
And that's why when you feel performance anxiety in the thing that you do, the part of your brain that is responding is the part of your brain that says, this is dangerous. Because mm-hmm. what's at stake? If you miss a ball, mm-hmm. when you're in baseball, if you swing and miss, it's said to be one of the harder sports, round ball, round bat.
Sure.
Success is, if you hit it 3 out of 10 times, you're doing great, world class. But what happens is your whole body's lit up in the same exact way that you're about to die or mm-hmm. could die from the saber-toothed tiger. There's no saber-tooth. There's mm-hmm. no sniper in the third, row. There's no physical consequence that would warrant your body lighting up in that way. Mm-hmm. But our brain hasn't figured this thing out yet. It didn't know sport, okay?
Yeah.
But it knows when something's dangerous. And when you've said, my identity is at stake here when I'm in the batter's box, then it's just kind of too big. That's why we have sports. Yeah,